Secretary of State Ian Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A proper plan for jobs, of course, would have Scottish renewables at its heart. There are 4 simple steps the Minister could take today to unleash this proper plan potential. Firstly, persuade the Treasury to create a pot dedicated to tidal energy in the 4th Contracts for Difference auction. Secondly, instruct Ofgem to reform transmission charges to stop disadvantaging Scotland. Thirdly, fund the energy interconnectors from the island generators to the mainland. And of course, fourthly, back the Acorn carbon capture and storage project. These government decisions would not only transform the UK energy sector, but create a Scottish jobs legacy from COP26. So will the Minister demand his Cabinet colleagues act now to create a proper jobs plan for Scotland?
Well, I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman. He does raise the important issue that Scotland in particular has enormous potential in the renewable sector, particularly on Acorn. I can reassure him that project is not dead. It didn't get through to the first 2, but is a reserve project, and we will be working closely to make sure it is in a future one. Through my department, we are funding a number of renewable energy schemes, like Core in East Ayrshire, and he referenced tidal in particular in the Orkney Islands. That can be form part of the island's growth deal. More generally, I'd be very happy to facilitate a meeting with my colleagues in Bays so he can discuss the wider issues.
Ian Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would certainly accept a meeting with the Secretary of State at Bays to go over these issues, but I would have thought that the Minister and the Scotland Office would also want to champion these, because if one of the outcomes of COP is quite clear, it's we need action and not just words. Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor's budget last week didn't have a plan for jobs in it either. In fact, he barely mentioned it. The conclusion, despite paying more, Scottish taxpayers are getting much less after a decade of devastating Tory and SNP austerity. It's no plan for jobs to be increasing taxes on businesses and hard-working people at a time when households and businesses are struggling with rapidly rising costs. So can I ask the Minister, is he comfortable, and is his department comfortable, as a Conservative Minister, that under his government, hard-working Scots now face the highest tax burden since the 1950s?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, firstly, in the income tax that the Scottish Government is responsible, it is indeed true that they have higher taxes than the rest of the UK, and I'll leave them to take that up with the Scottish Government. But on the wider point he made about unemployment and employment, if he casts his mind back to the budget last week, the forecasts for unemployment after the pandemic were originally for about 12%. It's going to be less than half that. Yeah. And through the changes my right honourable friend the Chancellor are making to universal credit tapers, for example, that will leave more money in the hands of hard-working people.